The Switch 2 was just announced, and while we already know so much about the console, officially and unofficially, let's take a look at 100 features I would like to see come to this new console. Some features are more realistic, while other features are pretty far-fetched, but the goal of this video is to just have fun and speculate what they could possibly do with this next console. We have 100 ideas to talk about, so let's get started. Firstly, I would really like a 4K video output dock. It's not a necessity, but it would be a pretty big addition that would make the Switch 2 feel like a real upgrade and not just a Switch Pro. Visual upgrades for a good chunk of Switch 1 titles like Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, and Splatoon 3. Most first-party titles already have an adaptive resolution, so this wouldn't be any harder than a simple patch for most games. For the love of everything, please get rid of stick drift. It should have been fixed on the Switch 1, so it really needs to be fixed on the Switch 2. This patent from Nintendo shows off analog sticks that can form resistance and push back at you like triggers on the DualSense. This would be pretty incredible, and almost feels like the next step after something like HD Rumble. Now, this next one is pretty important. With Mario Kart 9 now having 24 racers, I would really like to see expanded local multiplayer functionality. As of right now, if you were to play local multiplayer with 2 Switch consoles, you could only have 4 racers, 2 on each console. Which is dumb, since you could have 4 racers on one console. Imagine having 6 consoles locally, all with 4 players racing on one. That would be so sick, if only I had that many friends. Way more storage. Not only will next-gen games need more storage, but the storage built into the Switch 1 was already kind of pitiful. Give me at least 256 gigs, maybe 512 gigs, or shoot for even a terabyte. I doubt it, but hey, the Switch needs it. Accessories that use the top USB-C outlet. There is an endless amount of cool add-ons the Switch 2 could get that attach to the top of the system like a camera or even a power pack that makes docked games run even better. Improved battery life. The Switch 1 had an okay battery life at first, but after a few hardware improvements, it actually lasts a really long time. If the Switch 2 takes up as much power as the leaks suggest, then we really need a good battery, or else this thing could only last up to 2 hours. I want to be able to take this thing on an airplane and play the entire time. Make it happen, Nintendo. Nintendo's online is just comically bad. Letting us use Ethernet wouldn't fix it, but it would definitely help. Okay, this may be one of the more pettier features, but I think we can all agree there will be different Joy-Con colors. But the fact that the blue and red is also on the console has me thinking. The thought of different colored Joy-Cons not matching with the blue or red sets off something in my brain, and it isn't pleasant. I have no idea how they could change the color, but yeah, I wish it could be changed to match your Joy-Con color. I think it's kind of unrealistic to expect 4K in handheld, so a crisp 1080p image would be great. On the topic of power, I'm not too concerned with there being a PS4 Pro's worth of power inside the Switch 2, as Nintendo are experts of using every drop of power they have. But I do hope the Switch 2 is a good deal more powerful than the Switch 1. Yes, it is a miracle that the first Switch didn't burst into flames running Tears of the Kingdom, but that doesn't mean the game didn't suffer for it. 30 FPS caps that easily dip into 20 or even sub 20 without even hitting 1080p resolution is just not acceptable in 2025. More overall Nintendo charm. There was such a staunch lack of charm missing when it came to the Switch, and although I'll get into the nitty-gritty aspects that could use some improvement, just an overall increase in Nintendo charm would be nice for the Switch 2. The games still have it, so the console should too. One of the things that can fix this, and it feels like a meme at this point to even say it, but oh my goodness, we need themes. The original Switch was teasing us with those basic white and basic black options. We need different color themes yesterday. If we're finally getting different colors for themes, why not let us pay for different game-specific themes like the 3DS? These came with music and sound effects from those games that would play whenever you wake up the console from sleep mode, which was just so awesome. Folders to store games. It's ridiculous that the Wii and Wii U had some of the best folder management out there, and they decide to throw it all out the window with the Switch. I love this console, but the fact that there's literally no way to sort games on the main menu is straight up embarrassing. Achievements. Another feature I'm baffled wasn't on the original Switch. It adds an entirely different dimension to some games. Trying to get a rare achievement, 100%ing the game, or just showing off to your friends that, yeah, I'm cooler than you, cry about it. We need something like Miiverse again. This is one of the biggest downgrades from the Wii U to Switch in my opinion. The Wii U didn't do most things right, but one of the things it did great was Miiverse. Being able to post and share about the games you were playing while interacting with other people in each game's respective community was a lot of fun, and could be a great addition to stand the Switch 2 out from the Switch 1. So let's talk about some things that need to be in this community feature. I doubt any community feature would be quite as fleshed out as Miiverse was, because Nintendo figured out that people should post on broader spanning social medias to reach non-Nintendo playing audiences. But I hope the community feature isn't just friend requests and messages. There should be an activity feed and posting feature. People on Miiverse cooked up some really cool and funny posts, and it's always fun to go find a community that shares an interest in games you like without having to go to a place like Reddit or something. Ew. Let's bring back more amiibo support with the Switch 2. Why not? I think it could be interesting to see some more cosmetic DLC in games like Mario Maker and Mario Kart, and amiibos are a great way to implement this. When it comes to the new Pro Controller, we need a better D-pad. I've talked about this before, but the D-pad on the old Pro Controller does not have a ridge in the middle, so sometimes you can accidentally hit both the left and right or up and down at the same time. My biggest worry with the Switch 2 is that I'm going to be fidgeting with these magnets too much. I can't help but look at this and see myself messing with this all the time. So all I ask is this connector be sturdy. I would really hate if this became a common issue Nintendo needed to fix, just because we can't stop fidgeting with our magnetic Joy-Cons. Subscribe to Switch Dock feature. All Switch 2 consoles auto-subscribe to Switch Dock, whether or not they like it. Or, new playtime stats? Yeah, that's right. I want expanded playtime stats. It gets buried from my game stats page, and I need to find the cartridge and put it in to see how many hours I have in it. Making a simpler, more accessible playtime stats page would be a pretty cool addition to the Switch 2. I would also like to finally see built-in voice chat. I understand Nintendo caters towards a younger audience, but just let us have a party chat so we can talk in game. We had it on the Wii U, and the phone app on the Switch 1 was just a complete joke. This is a bit benign, but the Joy-Con snapping into the console to be as satisfying as sliding the Joy-Cons for the Switch 1. Forget the loose nature the original Joy-Cons fit nowadays. The snap with the sound effect can bring a tear to a grown man's eye. From the teaser, the sound effect was more of a slap than a click. So again, this sounds dumb, but I just hope clicking in and out of the Joy-Cons feels satisfying. I could see the rumored C button act as a wireless connection to the dock for two-screen play that could be used to emulate DS or 3DS games like the Wii U. We need a Nintendo Switch Online revamp. Bring it back and add GameCube, DS, 3DS, and shoot, why not everything? It is ridiculous at this point that there are major franchises with sequels coming out when we can't even play all the games from the series on the Switch. Get with it, Nintendo. Speaking of NSO, we need dedicated servers. If we're gonna pay for an online service, maybe provide us with an online service that doesn't lag consistently. But hey, that's just an idea. Also, this Nintendo Switch Online menu we got halfway through the Switch's lifespan needs to be revamped. It is just so laggy, which is just so ironic since it's supposed to advertise the online service. If they could just get it to run normally, that would be incredible. Same thing with the eShop. It is just so laggy. It makes scrolling through games a chore, which is the exact opposite of what scrolling through an eShop should feel like. Also, another point on the eShop, let's just get rid of the recent releases tab. It's not a bad idea in theory, but 5 seconds of scrolling through it and you're in for a bad time. One of the selling points of Nintendo Switch Online are the free game trials of popular Nintendo games. Yet it seems it's only available for certain single-player games. If we could get free trials for multiplayer games like Splatoon and Mario Party, I think they could very easily turn those free trials into sales. This next one isn't really a new feature, but one I desperately hope they don't get rid of. The game vouchers feature from Nintendo Switch Online is so overpowered. $100 for 2 game vouchers is an absolute steal. In 2023, I bought a pair of game vouchers and saved $40 getting Tears of the Kingdom and Mario Wonder. Especially with the rumored price jump of future games, this thing comes in clutch, and I would hate to see it go. What about streaming services? On the Switch 1, we got Hulu and YouTube, but I really think the Switch 2 could benefit from getting all the services. Netflix, Disney+, Fubo, all of these could be major sellers and make the console appealing to the casual buyer. Maybe not Fubo. I would also love to see Spotify on the Switch too. While I love listening to the ambient soundtracks of some of these games, sometimes I just want to plug into some of my music. Or better yet, listen to my favorite podcast, Nintendo Tonight. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Please go check out our podcast. Now, Spotify may seem like a bit of a fever dream, but Nintendo Music I would be so down for. They've really been pushing this mobile app recently, and being able to play background music of your favorite games within this app on the Switch 2 would be pretty neat. However, what I really want is UI music. Some of the most iconic parts of past Nintendo consoles were their oddly catchy music. At the very least, we need some eShop music. Not having that would be a tragedy. Next, let's turn our attention to that new dock. On the old Switch, the little indent was much smaller, and basically only there to tell you when your Switch was dead or docked. However, this time around, there is much more screen real estate when docked. I think it would be pretty cool if this worked to display the time or even notifications when in sleep mode. It would be an awesome quality of life change. I could also see the dock having USB support. No, not just for the AC adapter, but for charging with all other peripherals. USB has quickly become the standard port on most devices, so having USB-C ports on the dock would be pretty cool. But back to more interesting game-related features, I'm curious in what fashion the optical sensor on the Joy-Cons will be used for. I definitely see it being used as a cursor in games like Mario Maker, but for it to be a built-in feature to the console, it needs to have some big presence on the console. Maybe a paint app or a drawing game would be kind of neat. One thing we definitely need though is a new UI. Don't get me wrong, I actually kind of do like the simplicity of the original Switch UI. It's clean and gets the job done. However, if they want to make the new console feel new and fresh, changing the UI is an easy thing they can do to make it feel novel and exciting. I would like to see louder speakers from the OLED model return. The original Switch's speakers were fine, but nothing special. I'd like if these new speakers were more powerful and crisper than ever before. Better ventilation is a must-have with this new console. After 8 years with an original Switch, it overheats just way too easily. I want the Switch 2 to last, so please give it room to breathe and have plenty of ventilation with fans and vents. Okay, hear me out. What if we got Pro Joy-Cons? Or, even better, Pro-Cons. These would be Joy-Cons specifically designed for a better handheld experience, with wider grips, a real D-pad, and way bigger triggers and analog sticks. There's always been a huge third-party market for all sorts of things like this on the Switch 1, so a first-party accessory made by Nintendo would be incredible. Night Shift would be a small addition, but a really nice one at that. We already have a dark mode theme, but for those late night play sessions in bed, the blue light can really strain your eyes. Night Shift to lower the blue light on the console at night would be a great quality of life change. Also, let's maybe get real passcodes. The Switch 1 has a screen lock, but if you've passed first grade English class, I'm pretty sure anyone can get into your Switch. I'm not sure I'd personally use it, but the fact that we have a screen lock as useless as this is just kind of laughable. When it comes to profile pictures, please let us use our own profile pictures. I understand the security risk of uploading pictures, but maybe there will be like some wait time where it's manually checked by a moderator or something. That might be too much work for something as small as profile pictures, but it's just such a big factor when it comes to personalization on the Switch, so I think that'd be pretty neat. The next one is pretty unlikely, but it would change the Switch in a massive way. Adding cellular support would hands down be the biggest addition they could add to the Switch 2. The biggest thing holding the Switch back from true hybrid freedom is the lack of Wi-Fi while on the go. Cellular fixes this and makes the console a true jack of all trades. Speaking of cellular, give us those exclusive Satellaview games from the Super Famicom. Okay, I guess they're not technically cellular, but it made for a nice transition. These games are some of Nintendo's best hidden treasures, but they are just lost to time because you couldn't physically own them at the time. Bringing them back through Nintendo Switch Online would be one of the coolest things Nintendo has ever done, and I would be stoked to play some of these long-lost titles. Now, I'm not quite sure why, but Nintendo and Game Freak have been quite hesitant to put any original Game Boy or GBA Pokemon titles on Nintendo Switch Online. However, I wouldn't be surprised if they're cooking up some sort of Pokemon Online library of games they'll communicate with Pokemon Home. I think they really liked what they had with Pokemon Bank and Virtual Console on the 3DS, and I would hope that they would want to recreate that on the Switch too. I can't believe I haven't already said this, but Switch 1 controllers need to be compatible with Switch 2. My old Joy-Cons and Pro controllers must be compatible with the Switch 2, or else I'm going to be pretty upset. I'm really hoping Mii's get a bigger presence in Switch 2. On the original Switch, it seemed very much they were trying to phase them out, but I think Mii's are by far and away one of the most effective avatars, and are just super fun to see on both profiles and characters in-game. Maybe a new Tomodachi Life or Sports-like game could be fun. Also, speaking of Mii's, I would kill to see Street Pass return. Street Pass on the 3DS is by far one of the most unique concepts Nintendo has ever dabbled with, and bringing it back on the Switch 2 would be so cool. And maybe this time I'll finally finish one of those puzzles. This sounds far-fetched, but with mouse features all but confirmed, a PictoChat return would be incredible. I could totally see this happening, and I would be absolutely ecstatic to draw with friends again. I don't know if you know this, but on the new iOS update, you can actually touch the phones and share contact information. I think that could be a pretty cool way to become friends with people on the Switch in real life. I would like to see the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack expand. I think over the past few years, they've done a good job at adding a ton of value to it. However, I think we could get even more. All new DLC is a must. I was quite iffy on not owning DLC, but after getting the Booster Course Pass for what felt like free, I was basically sold on the expansion pack. Secondly, we need more perks. Give us more exclusive profile pictures and perhaps even exclusive themes. Finally, new weird early access perks like Alarmo are just fun to have and make the service feel like it is actually something special. Okay, to add some more personality to the console, let's add some new backplate designs. Whether that's just new standard colors besides black, or even game-specific designs, individuality will make Switch 2 a better experience for everybody. This patent showcases Joy-Cons that bend. No, seriously. While it doesn't look like that would be the case here, I would love to have at least the option to buy maybe Pro Joy-Cons for the Switch 2 that could bend like this. Specifically, when thinking about the mouse functionality, moving the analog stick like this would make the Joy-Cons far more comfortable in my opinion. We've brought this up in the past, but it's as good a time as ever to bring up the possibility of modular controllers. The Switch is inherently a modular system, being able to interchange Joy-Cons from the side of the system. But what if you could interchange the actual parts of the controller? Like in this shot here, what if you could switch out the button layout you had or the D-pad? On the Pro Controller, I want a headphone jack. This feels like a no-brainer. If I'm playing the Switch in the living room at 2:30 in the morning, I don't need it to be blasting music through my TV speakers. I need it blasting music in my earbuds. A huge focus on DLSS. Not to turn into Digital Foundry, but if you didn't know, DLSS basically uses AI to upscale a lower quality image into a higher quality one, while saving processing power that can be used to increase frame rate. This could be huge if Nintendo sticks to the old software strategy, while employing cutting-edge DLSS technology. After having the OLED model for the past 4 years, not having an OLED screen would seem like a step back. I really hope the Switch 2 will bring it back. This one is important. I need the price to be below $400. $399? Fine. Inflation and supply issues, blah, 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 but $399 is the max it should go. Ideally, it would be $349 or even lower. The second you hit $450 or even $499 territory, you start competing with the Steam Deck and other handheld PC consoles. I know Nintendo likes to sell their consoles at a profit, but those days might be behind them if they want to sell some Switch 2s. We need some dang good bundles if the price is going to be $399. In fact, I think a Mario Kart 9 bundle for $399 at launch is perfect. Again, you really need to sell the audience on a second Switch. It won't be as easy as the first time, as the novelty of handheld hybrid play is gone. A brand new Mario Kart game for a good deal would make the whole price hike go down even easier. I also hope we get more sales. The Switch 2's price has remained at $299 the entirety of its life. I get the whole inflation argument, but there's no way this 2015 mobile chipset costs anywhere close to $300 to produce anymore. If game prices are getting raised to $70, then give us more generous bundles and lower the price every now and again. Speaking of price, where the heck were the Nintendo Selects this generation? Even without the price drop, it's just another piece of Nintendo charm that was lost this generation. But speaking of price drop, some Switch games have stayed at $60 the entirety of the Switch's life. And sorry, but that is probably the majority of the reason I don't own more Switch games. Maybe if these went on sale every now and then, I would pick up more, but as of now, I'm not paying $60 for Donkey Kong Country Returns. Making the Joy-Cons bigger is a huge improvement in my opinion, but I've got to be honest, I know it might be a meme already, but I really do hope that the connector bit the Joy-Cons latch onto isn't going to be easily broken. Imagine Joy-Con drift, but on the console. I understand you need to be careful with your Switch, but if these things are as fragile as they look, and Nintendo was so dismissive on Joy-Con drift, this has me worried. Better performance in docked mode. The dock takes like twice as much power as the original Switch dock, so I feel like it could be used to beef up games when docked. On the topic of Joy-Con colors, Joy-Cons need colored variants again. I really like the redesign for the Switch 2, that's black with accented colors. It not only stands itself apart from the original Switch, but it also looks sick and modern. My one concern is that this greatly limits the possibility of special edition Joy-Cons, although they were stupid expensive and get drift too easily. One of the coolest things about Joy-Cons for the Switch 1 was the special edition variants. Having a cool Smash Brothers theme or Tears of the Kingdom design was just awesome. So I hope they find a way to do that with the new black design, besides just different accented colors. The current generation, the PS5 and Xbox Series X, has been mixed to say the least, but one of the coolest innovations was the PS5's controller and haptic feedback. This is basically disproven since the Switch 2 trailer doesn't mention it, but maybe the Switch 2 Pro controller could include it? Seriously, if you haven't played on a PS5 controller, it is amazing when the haptic feedback is done properly. Joy-Cons need to be way cheaper. A pair of Joy-Cons will run you $80. That's more than an entire game. That is absolutely criminal, as is if the Switch 2 Joy-Cons follow in the Switch 2's footsteps of hiking up the price. I swear to God, if these are $100 controllers, I will rip my hair out. The hardware can't be that expensive to produce anymore, even with the mouse functionality. Speaking of mouse functionality, I really hope it's not just a gimmick like the IR sensor turned out to be. This could honestly be a revolutionary innovation if done properly. So I hope they don't just add this in as a marketing tool. I want to see it used well and incorporated into a lot more than just a few mini games in WarioWare. What else could it be used for, you may ask? How about more functionality in the Switch 2's menu and eShop? This would make it so much easier to browse games, a potential community feature, and so much more. I also hope this means more third-party support. I feel like that's what they're getting at, as it's one of the few things they confirmed in this teaser, so I feel like they know this is a big deal. I just hope this means a bunch of third-party games like Civ 7 or more mouse-exclusive games get the chance to be playable on the Switch. If they do lean into the mouse Joy-Con play as much as I think they will, I do hope they don't overdo it. Mixing mouse players with controller players in a game like Splatoon, or say Call of Duty if that gets ported, would be horrible if it were not optional. I feel like there's a very delicate balance of not overdoing it but not wasting its potential. Let everything mouse related be optional. HDR is such a simple but huge upgrade. The original Switch didn't have HDR because of the version of HDMI it was using, but the Switch 2 has no excuse not to support it. Let's talk iterations. It is way too early to talk about these, but we're already here, so why not? There needs to be a mid-generation refresh of the Switch 2. If the console generation is anywhere close to as long as the original Switch was at 8.5 years, we need some sort of Switch 2 Pro midway through to tide us over. Even a few years after the Switch, games were barely running with pixel counts so low you'd think you were back on the GBA. That's the priority iteration in my opinion. So as long as we get a Pro, I think the Lite and OLED should return too. Yes, I think the OLED should be the base screen, but this is Nintendo we're talking about. They'll produce the cheapest versions of anything except for whatever the gimmick they want to push is. Xbox is an absolute sinking ship of a company right now, but the one thing they are doing somewhat right is Game Pass. The ability to play AAA games on launch for like $10 a month is brilliant. I think Nintendo should do something similar. Although I worry about what Nintendo's version of Game Pass could be. I think including the day-off game subscription with Nintendo Switch Online and things like the Booster Course Pass and future DLCs could be a huge deal. I feel like something like $15 a month would still be worth it if it meant I got to play the next Mario Kart with DLC, GameCube games, and online. I hope we get more budget eShop titles. I really think every now and then making a Bowser's Fury type small scale game and putting it on the eShop for like $20 would be super cool and economical. If they wanted to test out the waters on a new Star Fox or F-Zero, stick up a small scale title on the eShop. It's a win-win. Better regulation of the eShop. Nintendo is a stickler about just about everything except for what's allowed on the eShop. Seriously, half the games dumped on there are just AI or just super weird. They definitely need to keep better control of what's allowed in their shop. Speaking of eShop, Nintendo has to allow us to leave user reviews on the Switch 2 eShop. The fact that they don't have any form of ratings is ridiculous. I hope the Nintendo Music app is available on Switch 2. It's great that it's on mobile devices, but being able to choose what I listen to while playing would be great. Veering more into software territory, I hope there's a steady release of games after launch. The Switch 2 doesn't have the benefit of Wii U ports to pad out its lineup with no big Zelda game coming out for the foreseeable future, so I am a bit worried that the launch lineup will be sparse. With most Nintendo consoles, it comes with a new IP at launch that showcases the console's capabilities. Now that we know the Switch 2 will be more of the same but with mouse functionality, I hope the time game isn't 1, 2, 3 Switch. Yep, that's the wish. What I do hope it will be is something to do with mouse functionality, but again, don't overdo it. Whatever it is, let it be optional. More touchscreen support. It's a simple feature from the first Switch that really wasn't used much outside of the menus. If you're going to go through the effort of making it touchscreen, let us use it inside games. It always felt weird that I couldn't navigate the Smash Ultimate menu using a touchscreen. Don't increase the price of the system with another gimmick. From the teaser, the Switch 2 is largely just a Switch Pro type upgrade, but with mouse support. But if the mouse support, as cool as it seems, for some reason increases the Joy-Con price to like $100, then it's just not worth it. Bring back game sharing. This seems like something Nintendo would let slip through the cracks of the transition to the Switch 2, as it really doesn't seem like them to let us game share games across the same family account, but I really hope they bring it back. I also think this is the time we get rid of friend codes. It's 2025. Nintendo's the only company that still uses them, and I know some people like them because they can have the same name as others, but to me it just feels like a clunky, outdated system. Unique usernames are just a sign of the time, and I think that's just the way to go. Screw it, this may sound a bit silly, and this is more of a wish than anything, but what if the top USB-C port is for an optical drive that you can plug in, and you can play old Wii U, Wii, and GameCube games on the Switch? That would be pretty impressive. I would like to see more Wii remasters ported over to the Switch too. We didn't really get any Wii remasters besides Mario Galaxy and 3D All-Stars, and specifically, I would like to see some Wii Sports Resort, and Wii Play, and all of those Wii series of games put in HD and ported over to the Switch too. There's so much nostalgia for that era of gaming right now, so I think it would be a mistake not to bring them over. I hope the mouse extension seen in the trailer comes with the Switch 2, rather than just being $40 separately. In the Switch 2 trailer, they mentioned that Switch 1 games are backwards compatible with the Switch 2, but not all will be. I assume this means games like Labo and other experimental games won't be compatible, but that needs to be the extent. Every game should be basically playable on Switch 2. I hope disconnecting the Joy-Cons is as easy as it was on the Switch 1. The big buttons seem like they will be comfortable, but I am a bit worried that it'll be a bit more difficult than just sliding them off. Bluetooth keyboard. If there's a mouse, why not? Steam Deck does it. Bluetooth at launch. For some reason, Nintendo didn't enable it on the original Switch for a few years, so they better have it at launch for the Switch too. This is a super tiny feature, but I hope they hide another physical Easter egg on the Switch 2, like the thanks to all game fans on the original Pro Controller. Little bits of charm like that add so much to a console. And lastly, we want Mario Odyssey 2. Boom, nailed it, 100 features in the bag. Also, if you haven't already been made aware, we have a massive 3-hour video coming out at the end of this month, ranking the top 100 games in Nintendo's history. So be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can be the first to watch what I would consider our magnum opus. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye!